Schedule your consultation today at BealAbear.com. That's BealAbear.com. Safeguarding your tomorrow today.
Live from Upper Lafayette, this is ESPN 1037 KLWB Karen Cove Lafayette, KLCJ-FM Oak Grove Lake Charles 1041, a Delta Media station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit B1Bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros took Game 2 and the series last night against the Los Angeles Angels with a 3-2 win in Anaheim. The Astros once again needed a ninth-inning boost to get over the line, this time coming off of an RBI single to center field from Yordan Alvarez. Game 3 of the series will be tonight, and it'll be Hayden Wesneski for the Astros versus Grayson Rodriguez for the Angels. First pitch is at 8:38 p.m., and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles. The New Orleans Saints officially put the pads on today and get to work for the first day of training camp. Today's session is closed to the fans, but starting tomorrow, the next 5 practices will be open to the public. Ohio State Athletics made headlines yesterday after announcing a new jersey sponsorship with J.P. Morgan Chase. All 36 Buckeye athletic programs will now feature a Chase Bank sponsorship patch as part of the new deal that is valued at more than $15 million annually for Ohio State. The Acadiana Cane Cutters came up just short last night to the Lake Charles Gumbo Gators, losing 2-1 in Game 1 of the best-of-3 semifinal series. Game 2 of the semifinals between the Gumbo Gators and the Cane Cutters is tonight at 7 p.m. at Fallbacher Field. Ole Miss has filed breach of contract lawsuits against current LSU Tigers Princewell Umamielen and Devin Harper. The two followed Coach Kiffin to Baton Rouge after remaining with the Rebels throughout their playoff run, and now the university is seeking a combined $1 million between Umamielen and Harper. I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles. Your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit B1Bank.com to find a location near you. Dawson Iserloh prides himself on taking a deep dive to uncover all the relevant data about the sports and sports teams he loves. And now he's sharing all those facts inside his big brain with all of you. Here is the LohDown with D-Lo on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
It is the LohDown, ESPN 1037 in Lafayette, 1041 in Lake Charles. We are anywhere you are with the ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app. Streaming live on YouTube every single day now. ESPN_SWLA is the channel and where you can find us. It is a Wednesday. It's July the 29th. It is the first day of New Orleans Saints training camp. And unfortunately, the news is nowhere near good. I actually planned to have a really upbeat show today. Astros won a game last night. Camp starting. Everybody's excited at the beginning of camp, right? Nothing bad's happened yet. And typically you'd imagine, well, it's the first day. We're just going to be easing into this. Everybody's getting their bearings about them. A lot of handshakes and high fives, dap ups, hugs. How was the off season? How's the family? How are the kids? That trip to Acapulco looked beautiful. What'd you do over there? That's what we expect day one of training camp to be. And you know what? Yeah, we'll run some routes. We'll throw some balls around. A couple nice catches on the sideline. People will be buzzing around. Get some pictures. We get some photos. And we'll see you here tomorrow when the real practice starts. That's what my hope was for day one of Saints training camp. Instead, we're going to have a conversation. So it was going to be an opening segment here of Locked In that was going to be pretty fun and upbeat. And now that's taken a turn. So we'll try and not let that derail the show. But there is a very significant injury that just took place at Saints camp. We've now got the national reporters in on it, which is never a good thing, right? Sometimes when it's just the local reporters and you get a report from an Underhill or a Ross Jackson or a Seth Lewis, and it's like, hey, so-and-so went down. We'll see. They're going to keep an eye on them. And then sometimes it blows over, and a couple days later they go, hey, so-and-so's back out of practice. Turns out false alarm, no big deal. They just were being precautionary. When Ian Rappaport chimes in and is tweeting about the injury, that's typically never a good thing. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Other than that, we are going to talk with Zach Nagy. Both of our guests will be in hour number 2. Zach Nagy at 2 o'clock to talk LSU. We get him back in his usual time slot Barring a couple of interruptions, which probably next week will be one of them because we've got Astros daytime baseball on Wednesday. Zach will get right back into his comfortable 2 o'clock slot as the football season begins. So we've given him some weeks off. We had him back on live at SEC Media Days. We'll be checking back in with Zach on all things LSU at the top of the second hour. And look, today, with all the news, Amami Ellen stuff, the lawsuit from Ole Miss, we got no shortage of things to discuss. Then at the bottom of hour number 2, I added this guest late because I realized that I haven't gotten his thoughts since some of these dominoes have fallen in the NBA. We'll talk with Ali Cassell. We'll just do a quick check-in with him. Now that LeBron's in Philly, we'll get his thoughts on that situation, what the Eastern Conference now looks like, if the Pels are ever going to make any changes to their roster at all. We'll check back in with Ali at the bottom of the second hour. Other than that, we'll be hanging out. We'll be talking about some different things. As I mentioned, we'll probably do more Saints than I expected to, given what just went down. But the Stros got a victory. PGA Tour's doing some cool stuff. We got some random things to get to, for sure. But for now, we will start it off by getting locked in with, as I mentioned, some unfortunate news to report shortly thereafter.
D'Lo is the kind of guy that stays locked in. On what? Well, that depends on the night. But you can guarantee there was some sporting event that he found interesting. It's time to find out what D'Lo was locked in on the LohDown.
So I started out like being really excited because the Saints posted a picture of Shuck with Vele, Jordan Tyson, and Chris Olave. And I was like, we are ready to roll. We are getting the offseason itch out of the way. It is time for Saints football. These guys look great. Let's get it going. This receiving core is going to be different. And then Alvin Kamara was out there. Kamara doing his thing, getting a little spicy with the media, the Jeff Duncan stuff, whatever that is. It's like, all right, that's whatever. That's day one of camp. And then Nick Underhill had that tweet. Said that Brian Brzee suffered a knee injury at practice today. Whenever they immediately identify the body part too, I've been around enough of these off-season camps, right? And you go, all right, there's different levels. As I said, sometimes a player, you hear carted off, and it's always a reminder, carted off in camp is not the same thing as carted off in an NFL game. When you're carted off the field in training camp, sometimes it's, hey, if you've ever attended a live practice, I'm sure plenty of you have maybe seen a live practice at, the Saints facility on Airline Drive, because a lot of them are open to the public. And so I've been out there both just to hang out, and I've been out there as a media member. It's a big, wide field. They've got multiple different practice fields. You can have special teams going on one side, offense, defense on the other, position group drills. Like, it's a large area. And it's 100 degrees because it's New Orleans and it's July. And so sometimes if you hear, player was carted off, that might be factually correct. But if a player was working on the far corner and the locker room training facility area is 300 yards away, maybe they just tweaked an ankle, or maybe they just caught a cramp and they're getting carted off because it's a lot easier than them walking 300 yards in 100-degree heat, right? So carted off doesn't always necessarily mean bad things. But the way this tweet was worded, my heart sunk right away, and I was like, that just sounds really, really bad. And so Underhill originally said that it was a knee injury for Brian Brzee and that he was going to be evaluated further, which left that pit in your stomach. Then we find out from Ian Rappaport shortly thereafter, quote, hashtag Saints DT Brian Brzee, one of the linchpins, their defense and a rising star, is feared to have suffered a torn ACL per me and Mike Garofalo. So Garofalo was in on this as well. He says, while tests are ongoing, it's likely the former first-rounder is done for the season. And so for this to have happened less than a few hours ago, and Ian Rappaport, this is not some reporter trying to make a name for themselves by putting out something early, right? This is one of the best in the business. He and Garofalo. For them to both put their names behind a statement that says likely done for the season just a couple hours after it happened, they didn't even have to wait. They were that sure of it that they felt confident in putting the report out that quickly. it's going to be a shock of monumental proportions if Brian Brzee does not have a torn ACL, because whoever gave Rappaport that piece of information was pretty darn confident that that's what it was. So now that I've kind of gone through the whole reporting process of why I think this is completely legit, and I don't have any reason to really doubt the information that's going around, what does it mean for the Saints? It's tough because, it's funny too. We have a poll question today. Which position group are you the most excited to watch? And I wasn't going to mention the defensive line. I wasn't going to certainly mention the interior of the defensive line because it was a position group while I thought, nobody's going to mistake this interior of the Saints defensive line for being the best in football. They don't have, what the Rams might have if Aaron Donald comes out of retirement. They don't have, this prime game-wrecking D tackle or anything. I thought, hey, Brzee's been a really solid player. Linchpin is a great way to put it, and that's what Rappaport said in the tweet. He's been a linchpin to what they've been able to do up front. He finally had a pretty healthy year last year, was really solid for the Saints. He hasn't turned into a superstar yet, but he's just been really solid, right? And so I thought to myself, you got him in there. You bring in a player like Christian Miller. Devon Godchaux was, really solid for you last year. By the way, the most impressive stat I have on Devon Godchaux, the former LSU Tiger, 5th-round pick who's made himself into just a really solid NFL player, 5 consecutive seasons of 17 games played. Devon Godchaux has not missed a single game since the COVID messed season of 2020 in Miami. And before that season, he had played in 16, 16, and 15 games with the Miami Dolphins. So Devon Godchaux's essentially missed half of 1 year in his entire 9-year NFL career. So you do still have him up front, and that's exciting. But after Brzee really put it together, remember that rookie year where he was out there and stayed healthy, 4.5 sacks. His second season, he had 7.5. Last year, only 2.5 sacks. The production numbers went down, but I felt like he was more involved. It was a new system being in Brian Staley's defense. And so despite the fact, remember, we came into this career of Brian Brzee with pretty major concerns because he was injured a lot at Clemson. He's only missed 2 games in 3 years in the NFL. Now he's missed some time in camps and things of that nature, but he's only actually missed 2 games in 3 seasons, and those were both last year. So he's been reliable and he's been durable until, unfortunately, today. So now you look behind him. As I mentioned, yes, they brought in Christian Miller out of Georgia, a guy they feel pretty confident in, but that's a day one rookie that I don't think you were expecting to have to play significant snaps in early on. Vernon Broughton becomes the next really intriguing piece for me. Vernon Broughton was a rookie out of Texas last year. The Saints took him in the 3rd round. They picked him 71st overall back in 2025. He, much like Julian Blackmon last year, played in 1 single game, and then that was it. He made 3 assisted tackles, and then that was it for Broughton. He misses the rest of the year with injury as well. But he did look good in camp. He's a big body, 6'5", 311 pounds. The ESPN depth chart for the Saints actually has him listed as a defensive end along with Brzee because, remember, it's more of a 3-4 system. They have Cam Jordan listed at the starter at that spot. If that's where you're going to play it, then that's fine. I can see what they're saying. Cam might be playing a little bit more inside. But remember, Cam's been slimming down. Cam has not been getting bigger to play the defensive tackle position. Where does Tyree Wilson fit into this, right? Is he going to be capable of playing some of those same positional, places that you had a guy like Brzee? He's more of a guy that's supposed to come off the edge, though. He's 6'5", 263. He's a lean, fast player. Broughton and Godchaux, you have at the defensive tackle spots. Past that, you have really nothing proven, right? Nathan Shepard's a journeyman player. He's been a nice veteran for you. Yes, he's still on this roster, but the 32-year-old is not an impact maker at that position, right? So, look, it's awesome to have him out there. He, much like, by the way, Devon Godchaux, has only missed 2 games in the last 5 seasons, so he's been very reliable and available, which is awesome. But my fear and, my summarization of the Brzee injury today is out of nowhere, and maybe it seems silly to say, maybe if this is the suggestion, then maybe you always were, but out of nowhere to me, it feels like the Saints just got really thin at the defensive line position in a hurry. It's always, you sit there and say the one guy who was irreplaceable. I don't know if you go that far with a player like Brzee. It's just, that's a really tough one to swallow on the first day of camp. And that's probably what makes it even worse. Although some might argue, and I think NFL teams would definitely argue if you're going to lose a player for the season, losing him on the first day of camp's a whole lot better than losing him on the first day of the regular season, because you still have time to get somebody in there, get acclimated, see what they, by the way, if you're the Saints, try out multiple players, hey, maybe there's a veteran that's on the market. Maybe there's a young guy you think you can tap into. Maybe you pull off a trade if you're feeling that desperate. Like, there are options. This is not a season ender. This doesn't alter. Like, I don't think the Saints, win totals in Vegas are going to change based on this injury. But it sure isn't a great way to get the vibes going to start training camp, man. And also, by the way, just on a personal level, we've had Brian Brzee on the show before. He's been awesome to us. We got to hang out with him a little bit. Super Bowl week. His story's incredible. I think everyone, you remember back and the battle, cancer, and the younger sibling. Like, he's got an awesome story. And so he's an easy guy to root for. He's done nothing but good things since he's been in New Orleans. So it's a big-time bummer for him personally, but certainly we're going to focus mainly on the football side of it, which it's not good news in any regard. So that's a downer of a way to start the show, right? Maybe we can bring ourselves back a little bit. We'll take a look. We'll go through some some comments, thoughts, and things of the people who were out there, because this was a closed practice to the public, but there was some media in attendance, so there were some observations made by the regular suspects, Nick Underhill and crew. We'll go ahead. We'll check in with some of those tweets and see maybe what we can grab that was positive out of the first day of Saints camp. It is a Wednesday edition of the show. You're listening to LohDown. Stay with us.
This is the LohDown with D-Lo, live on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
On an extremely positive note, Drew Brees rewrote the NFL record books and helped lead the New Orleans Saints to their Super Bowl win, and now he's getting himself a gold jacket in Canton, Ohio. He's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Myself, RP3, and Mesh will all be there live in Canton to witness it with a live 3-hour special. We're calling it the Gold Standard. It's August 7th from noon to 3. Our coverage is presented by Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. It's right here on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles is your home for the Houston Astros.
And the Astros stun the Mariners.
Hunter Brown, Yordan Alvarez, and the rest of the Astros are looking to get back to the postseason. You can listen to every pitch, hit, and thrilling victory of the Houston Astros.
Incredible!
As Robert Ford and Steve Sparks will be on the call. Tune in this season for live Astros baseball on Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Where do you go when you're looking for action? Where do you go when you're looking for fun? New friends you're gonna meet, more fun than Bourbon Street. The Big Easy, where winning is easy. Life's too short, so jump on in. Have all the fun you can. The Big Easy, where winning is easy.
Hand of the Day is the new way to win at the Big Easy Casino. Each Hand of the Day equals one entry into the Big Easy Bonus Cash Drawings. Bonus Cash Drawings take place on the last day of each month. It's never been so easy to win. Just watch as you play and notify your hostess when you get the Hand of the Day. The Big Easy, where the winning is easy. Gambling problem? Call toll-free 1-877-770-STOP.
Life's too short, so jump on in. Have all the fun you can. The Big Easy, where winning is easy. Big Easy Casino across from Montreal.
It's 9 a.m. You just received a voicemail from your boss.
Hey, Janet. Heads up. We got an important meeting coming up Thursday. The big guys are coming into town, so I need you in charge of lunch, and we've got to look good.
Luckily for Janet, she knows a place, and she knows her boss will be impressed.
Honey Baked Ham can cater your next event. Delicious and freshly sliced deli trays, box lunches with sandwich, chips, and dessert. Or try our fresh salad boxes and the perfect touch with a meat and cheese tray. Honey Baked Ham Company.
Hi, I'm Nancy Landry. No matter what part of our great state you call home, Louisiana's elections are an important part of who we are. In 2026, closed party primaries will change how some of those elections happen, so you'll want to know what to do. Keeping your registration current ensures you'll get the right party-based ballot. Remember, this change only applies to certain offices.
To learn more, visit GoVote.com or download the GoVote app.
Paid for by the Louisiana Secretary of State's office.
Oh, look who's here.
Everybody Loves Raymond is on MeTV.
Who told you that?
Raymond!
America's #1 classic TV network.
Nothing even comes close.
Enjoy 2 back-to-back episodes every weeknight.
We're doing it twice.
Watch Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, it's all about you, Raymond.
Weeknights starting at 8 on MeTV.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
This is ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, broadcasting live from the Beal and Hebert studios in Upper Lafayette. Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. Back to more of Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
All right, we started the show with the bad news. If you're just hearing, Brian Brzee has been feared to have suffered a torn ACL. He's not the only bad news on the first day of camp around the league, by the way. Bengals defensive lineman Shamar Stewart, who had, of course, some very unique contract negotiations and things after the draft. He has also been carted off with a left leg injury. Ben Baby had that from ESPN 8 minutes ago, so waiting for more news on that. Good news. Former LSU Tiger Grant Delpit got himself a new contract, 3-year, $48 million extension. I guess, staying with the Cleveland Browns, whether that's good news or not, it's up for debate. But good for Grant for getting himself $35 million guaranteed. Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport both had that on Wednesday. So the Browns extend Grant Delpit. The quarterback battles around the league have certainly been interesting. Atlanta doesn't have any quarterbacks healthy right now. Michael Penix Jr. is dealing with some stuff. And, of course, after they shipped off, I guess I shouldn't say shipped off, but after they were, no longer employing Kirk Cousins, the Falcons quarterback room is real thin because they had Cooper Rush out there slinging it with the first teamers because Tua's banged up, who they brought in, and Penix is banged up. So Jack Strand and Cooper Rush are the Falcons quarterbacks that are getting reps right now. Jack Strand, who I had not heard of before this morning, a rookie out of Minnesota Moorhead, who is 6'5", 240, so a big kid, and is actually on the ESPN depth chart, which, again, I'm not going to pretend is like super accurate or anything. He was listed ahead of Cooper Rush. Jack Strand finishes his college football career at Minnesota State Moorhead with 13,000 passing yards and 126 touchdowns. So very impressive numbers, but, of course, Minnesota State Moorhead is not a very well-known program. They play in Division II. So he was the 2-time Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference Offensive Player of the Year, if that means anything to you. So the Falcons dealing with some interesting starts to camp. Remember one thing that maybe could find a little bit of relevancy. Vita Vea requested a trade from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the other day. Vita Vea has been a player I've long respected. Just a game wrecker, man. Just that type of guy who's just a bulldog and a man. Certainly put him on the list of people I wouldn't want to mess with and wouldn't want to see in a dark alley. He's apparently requested a trade and wants out of Tampa camp. The 5 teams that were listed on the ESPN article by Jeremy Fowler about the 5 potential fits were the Raiders, the Patriots, the Chargers, the Panthers, and the Niners. Apparently, he has also mentioned that he'd like to get back to the West Coast. He's from California. He's from Stanford, California, so nearby to the San Francisco 49ers. But you do also wonder if maybe the Saints injury situation there, I don't know if the Bucs would trade him in the division, but boy, would I love to have Vita Vea on my football team because that guy's been a game wrecker for a really, really long time. So all these are kind of some of the early season storylines as training camps are getting going around the league. You have the Kyler Murray versus J.J. McCarthy battle in Minnesota. You have potentially, I guess, Shadur Sanders against Deshaun Watson. Fernando Mendoza and Kirk Cousins. So there was also this report the other day that, the Raiders would actually like to see Kirk Cousins be their starter all season long. That to me sounds like before training camp talk. I mean, you just don't draft the guy first overall if you don't plan to play him early, especially a player like Mendoza who has a ton of college starts and experience. This isn't like an Anthony Richardson pick where you're picking the raw talent and hoping to develop it later. So that's what they're saying at this point. And I guess you can throw Aiden O'Connell in that conversation as well, although I think we would all be stunned if it's not one of Cousins or Mendoza starting in year number one. There was a quote from a player agent. The Raiders were telling everyone at the Combine that they didn't want to play Mendoza right away. It wasn't a surprise when they went out and got Cousins. So, as I've said before, I am on that team. I am on the team of have the top prospects sit for a while. Hardly ever are these teams ready to roll, and the Raiders are certainly not ready to contend and ready to roll right now. So no doubt about it there. But at the same time, the way that current NFL football operates is like these teams that spend all this capital on them, they can't wait to see the guy. The fans can't wait to see the guy. Sometimes ownership, if they're one of those involved ownership groups that likes being involved, they can't wait to see the guy. So, look, maybe Kirk Cousins comes in and plays pretty well for 2 months. But look, are the Raiders going to be anywhere near contention? The only way this actually works out where you play Cousins the majority of the season is if you're actually winning football games. Because if you're sitting at 2-6, I don't care how much you don't want him to play, they're going to play it. They're going to play Fernando Mendoza. So anyway, that's the buzz around Raiders camp as well, what that's going to look like. And certainly it at least matters to an extent what he looks like early on in camp. Other than that, some of the buzz around Saints camp, I mentioned I wanted to go through some of this. Our guy Ross Jackson was out there. So Cody Hardy and Xavier Harris. Xavier Harris, by the way, becomes more interesting to me, the former Ole Miss Rebel defensive tackle, placed on the non-football injury list. Mason Tipton and Keyshawn Silver are on PUP. I think Tipton is still working his way back from an offseason injury, is what it sounds like. The Saints waived Beanie Bishop and signed Mike Reed. Both those guys are cornerbacks. These are all, look, it's the first day of camp. You're going to have a billion different transactions that go down between now and the end of the season. None of these are like super significant as far as I know. Jordan Tyson played a lot. Christian Miller played. Sonny Styles was there. Olave is not participating in all drills, it sounds like, as they are still a part of contract negotiations. So that's a little chess being played by Olave and his representation. That's not abnormal. He's there. He reported. He's just not going to do everything right now as they try and get a contract figured out. That's not very concerning to me. We'll see if that develops in anything serious. Ross points out that Jonas Sanker was in the slot. Jaden Price was as the second-team slot corner out there. Control chaos is a quote from Justin Reed about how he would describe the Saints' defense. You'll know when you've played the 2026 Saints, he said, of opposing offenses on the way this season. I like that from Ross. Nick Underhill also chimed in that Tyson was out there, made a couple catches in the drills, looked good. So that's certainly exciting for Saints fans to have. As I said before, and as I'll always say, it's the first day of camp, right? So we're not going to have any fine, observations or decisions made up about this team. The one tweet, though, that I will share with you from Nick Underhill that got me feeling a little bit of something. Kool-Aid looked really good early on, 2 incompletions, 1 PBU with his coverage. So I have been as doubtful about the Saints cornerback room as anybody in Saints media this offseason. Ross Jackson disagrees with me. That's okay. We agree on a lot. We disagree on some. And so I hope I am wrong. I hope Kool-Aid is ready for that next step. I hope Quincy Riley is ready for that next step. Maybe it is some other name like a Martin Emerson who jumps into the fold and does some things that are good for the Saints defensively. But I have had some serious concerns about it. It is our poll question of the day. Seems now's as good a time as any to unveil it to you. We're asking you on Facebook and on X, what position group are you wanting to see during training camp? So I voted defensive backs on this one when I voted this morning. And now, I don't know if I'm going to change my vote officially, but I'm certainly a lot more intrigued in the interior of the defensive line with the Brzee injury than I was 3 hours ago. Think about it. I just assumed, and I think rightfully so, if he's out there, Brzee's going to be a guy who plays 60 to 70% of your snaps defensively. He's going to be the bulk of what you have out there. And yeah, of course, it's always a rotation on the defensive line. No one's playing the entire game, although prime Cam Jordan used to do it time and time again. So that's where we're at with this. But now that guy's out of the fold, you've got to try and find a way to make up that production. And I'm just not looking forward to the Saints having to do that. So tell you what, we'll take a break here. We did have a phone call. We'll see if we can get to that in the break, and we'll bring it on to start the next segment. You're listening to the LohDown.
This is the LohDown with D-Lo, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Small Sliders has been doing big things. We appreciate everybody who came out to the anniversary bash, celebrating 3 years already at the Ambassador Caffrey location. It was, of course, celebrated with the eating championship that our guy Greg took home. So thank you to everyone who came out to that. But a reminder, Smalls is still doing their thing. Go over there, fresh cheeseburger sliders, the fries, the small sauce, the queso, the milkshakes. They're doing it all. They do it fast. They do it efficiently. It's always fresh. Everything comes out so good every time. It's that commitment to quality that they've got over there. Our friend Steve, Jody, everybody who runs that store, they do a great job. You can visit the one on Ambassador Caffrey, or you can visit the one on Bertrand Drive in the Lafayette area at Small Sliders of Lafayette.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit B1Bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros took Game 2 and the series last night against the Los Angeles Angels with a 3-2 win in Anaheim. The Astros once again needed a ninth-inning boost to get over the line, this time coming off of an RBI single to center field from Yordan Alvarez. Game 3 of the series will be tonight, and it'll be Hayden Wesneski for the Astros versus Grayson Rodriguez for the Angels. First pitch is at 8:38 p.m., and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. The New Orleans Saints officially put the pads on today and get to work for the first day of training camp. Today's session is closed to the fans, but starting tomorrow, the next 5 practices will be open to the public. Ohio State Athletics made headlines yesterday after announcing a new jersey sponsorship with J.P. Morgan Chase. All 36 Buckeye athletic programs will now feature a Chase Bank sponsorship patch as part of the new deal that is valued at more than $15 million annually for Ohio State. The Acadiana Cane Cutters came up just short last night to the Lake Charles Gumbo Gators, losing 2-1 in Game 1 of a best-of-3 semifinal series. Game 2 of the semifinals between the Gumbo Gators and the Cane Cutters is tonight at 7 p.m. at Faubacker Field. Ole Miss has filed breach of contract lawsuits against current LSU Tigers Princewell Umamielen and Devin Harper. The two followed Coach Kiffin to Baton Rouge after remaining with the Rebels throughout their playoff run, and now the university is seeking a combined $1 million between Umamielen and Harper. I'm Blake Persher, and you're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit B1Bank.com to find a location near you. Drew Brees set a new standard for quarterback play, and now the Saints legend will be immortalized in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. RP3, D-Lo, and Mesh will be there for this historic occasion with a special 3-hour live broadcast from Canton, Ohio. Tune in Friday, August 7th for the Gold Standard. Presented by Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers, right here on ESPN, 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
This is your Chiropractic Expert Minute, brought to you by Dr. Quentin Briscoe, chiropractic physician.
Hello, I'm Dr. Quentin Briscoe. Veterans, are you struggling with chronic back pain, neck issues, or reduced mobility? You're not alone, and you have options. Chiropractic care is part of your VA health benefits, and at Briscoe Chiropractic, we specialize in non-surgical, drug-free solutions to help manage your pain and improve your well-being. We are proud to work with the VA Community Care Network. Let us help you regain your mobility and enjoy the active life you deserve. In addition to the VA Community Care Network, we are also in network with Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and Aetna. We accept motor vehicle accidents and workman's comp cases.
To schedule an appointment with Briscoe Chiropractic, visit drqmb.com or call 337-534-0091. That's drqmb.com or 337-534-0091, because your spine deserves expert care.
Hello, Acadiana. Cajun Carts is your #1 full-service dealer for new, used, and custom golf carts. Perfect for on the job site, the neighborhood, or even out on the green. We are the only authorized dealer of American-made E-Z-GO and Club Car here in Acadiana. For all your service, sales, and mechanical repairs, we got you. So don't wait. Roll on over to CajunCarts.com or stop by our Lafayette location by the Jockey Lot and see why we've been Louisiana's golf cart headquarters since 2003. Cajun Carts. Why walk when you can ride?
Hi, I'm Nancy Landry. No matter what part of our great state you call home, Louisiana's elections are an important part of who we are. In 2026, closed party primaries will change how some of those elections happen, so you'll want to know what to do. Keeping your registration current ensures you'll get the right party-based ballot. Remember, this change only applies to certain offices. To learn more, visit govote.com or download the GoVote app.
Paid for by the Louisiana Secretary of State's office.
Every weeknight, MeTV has your laugh therapy.
To chase away the blues or the olive drabs.
With 2 hours of MASH at 5.
This guy's ankle has tickled my funny bone.
Followed by the Andy Griffith Show at 7.
Doggone it, Otis. You're supposed to be hugging me when I'm arresting you.
But he likes you, Bard.
Weeknights on MeTV.
Watch Meet TV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on Channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
You're listening to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles. Your home for the best local sports talk in Southwest Louisiana.
All right, we're back here on the LohDown. We've spent a large portion of the first hour here talking Saints Day 1 of training camp. Of course, the news of Brian Brazee's injury, expected that he suffered a torn ACL. I mentioned it a little bit there. I'll say it again, though. We had a call during the break. I was having a conversation with a gentleman who brought up the idea of, hey, like, remember Xavier Harris is a player that had some off-the-field issues, but the draft stock was pretty high. Saints got him as an undrafted free agent. They drafted Christian Miller in the second round. And so I'm with you. Like, it's not like this is over. There are some really intriguing names and players that are going to be at that position that might be able to make an impact. The point I'm making, that what changed today is you were going to go into the season with defensive line not really being like, you were going to go into it saying, well, we know we have a few guys we can definitely rely on, Godchow, Brian Brazee, Nathan Shepard. And if some of these young players hit, a Vernon Broughton or a Christian Miller or a Xavier Harris, then we're going to be really set up at that position. And Brazee being out now makes it to where you're going to have one of those guys that you haven't seen it yet from step up and be something for you early. And that's a more nerving place to be in my opinion, as an NFL team, than when you have some players that have done it before. It's the same exact situation at linebacker, by the way. Now, that's why, in my opinion, the Caden Ellis signing is one that I don't want to say it was ignored. I mean, we talked about it for sure. That could end up being massively important for this team. When you talk about the idea of, yeah, we'd love if Danny Stutzman took the next step, but I just keep telling you, when you expect that everyone's going to take the next step, some of these guys are not going to have good seasons that we are like, well, if they just get a little bit better. Not everyone in the league gets better at the same rate and at the same time. So I like having as many positions as possible with players that I trust and have seen do it. And right now we just don't have that. We don't have that across the board, And so linebackers one, but maybe Caden Ellis can shore some of that up. And certainly Pete Warner's got a longer track record of being a quality NFL player. I don't know about a great one. Certainly not great one throughout his entire career. And now D-line moves to the forefront of that conversation, So I do think that's interesting. The other thing about it, we got a good idea last year of what Staley's defense was going to look like. I think we got some early returns on, like the idea that Dennis Allen was here for a really long time as a defensive assistant and then the defensive coordinator and then the head coach. And so things had maybe gotten a little stagnant in some areas, and a roster, remember, was built for that type of defense. I mean, Dennis Allen was bringing in players that would fit the 4-3, bringing in traditional edge rusher, Cam Jordan type players who can maybe set the edge and get after the passer. Those athletic defensive tackles. Brandon Staley comes in, and that's one of the main reasons he brings in Devon Godchow. He goes, all right, well, we need a nose tackle. We need somebody who can fill some gaps. We need some guys to plug the running lanes. We usually, in a 3-4, you're typically going to have some more athletic, kind of multi-level pass rushing defensive ends. Somebody like a Chase Young who can kind of drop back in coverage if you need him to. Tyree Wilson does fit that mold as well. No, Tyree Wilson, as we said, is just a completely unproven player, despite the pedigree. I went over this again. Remember, we talked a good bit about Tyree Wilson when the Saints picked him up. go back and the story's easy to tell. He's the 7th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. He plays at both A&M and Texas Tech in college. He puts together a couple great seasons and gets all this excitement coming around. And then his first year in Vegas, 1 forced fumble, 3.5 sacks, 29 tackles. You go, there just wasn't a whole lot there. His second year in Vegas, he starts 4 games. Maybe he's making some progress. The numbers are up to 4.5 sacks, and you're like, all right, like maybe we're seeing something here. Is it coming around? And last year, in theory, should have been the year for him, right? It should have been the breakout. It should have been the moment where he establishes himself as a legitimate game-wrecking type defensive end. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. As a matter of fact, it was quite the opposite of that. Tyree Wilson last season ends up with less sacks than he had the year prior. He has 4 total, and 2 of them came in the last game of the season, a 14-12 win over the second stringers of the Kansas City Chiefs, right? So he has his best game of the season and arguably one of the best games of his career in a largely meaningless football game, okay? And so now that's why I am still intrigued with the talent. There's a reason the guy got picked in the top 10 of the NFL draft, but there's certainly like no guarantees that this guy's going to be a productive player for you. So, you know, that's where I'm at with Wilson, because he's another one that's going to get brought up. It's not the same exact position that he shares with Brzee, but, you know, he plays the defensive line. He certainly could have an impact on the guys around him. And so you can kind of understand like what the next conversations are going to be like. You know, past that, I get asked a lot of times, like, what matters to me in training camp? And I don't know if I've ever come up with good answers. You know, it's funny. Like, I joke. Last year, I went down to Metairie, to the practice facility. I think I ended up attending like 3 or 4 Saints practices last year during camp. And that's what I talked about with media members, right? Like, hey, what do you get out here? What do you get out of doing this? I remember talking with the voice of the Saints, Mike Haas, a little bit about it. And so everybody can pick their own thing. I think the general idea and the general thing that I've stuck to is there shouldn't be, if you catch yourself getting overly excited about something going, this looks special, you probably need to reel it in. And along the exact same lines, if you see something that makes you go, that's going to look like a disaster, you also probably need to reel it in and give it some time, right? Derek Carr was an NFL veteran who had been there, done that before, had gone through camp a ton of different times. And so Carr goes down to New Orleans for his first offseason, and he's scorching it up. He's tearing it up. Everybody's like, man, this guy looks unbelievable. And we probably fell into that trap a little bit. And there was still moments where Derek Carr played great football in New Orleans. There wasn't a ton of them, but there were moments like that. And, of course, the start to the next season, the same thing. Everybody's like, man, Carr looks good. This new offense, they got Kubiak in place. This is going to be really good. And the first 2 games, you're like, my goodness, they're the greatest show on turf. Version 2, this is going to be an unbelievable season. Derek Carr was a great practice player, and he was a great training camp player because he'd been in the NFL for 10 years. And so, you know, when you flip that around last year, I think a lot of the conversation around Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler was like, man, there's a lot of mistakes being made. There's a lot of growth to be had. And I think that's fair. But then Shuck got out there in the second half of the season and we saw what we saw. Like, we saw it turn a little bit. So I guess my thing is it's just comparing it to what it's looked like in the past is maybe your best way to go about things. But I'm really, outside of keeping guys on the field, which the Saints are already doing a bad job of, clearly. Not that they could have avoided it, but you get the point. Outside of keeping guys on the field, there's nothing that's going to massively change my opinion between now and, to be honest with you, between now and when the first regular season game gets played mid-September. You know, like but we are going to talk about it, and we will share what's noteworthy, and hopefully better things are on the horizon for our Saints training camp reports as we get a little bit closer to it. Speaking of which, we are going to continue to talk Saints a lot in the next 2 weeks. We are so stoked to be going to Canton. We've been sharing that promo with you for the last couple days. So we've got, in addition to Friday's show, which is going to be a unique kind of merger of our 2 shows that happens from noon to 3, Thursday's show is going to be also heavily focused on Drew, on the Saints, on, things of that nature. So I'm excited to talk a lot of Saints, a lot of history. We did our Delo's Details yesterday on that Saints win over Carolina. We will no doubt do some more of those. We'll look back at Saints history and Drew Brees history mainly and give some thoughts on what it was like and kind of remind you, maybe take you down memory lane, right, with some of the great moments that Drew provided. There's a number of them that come to the top of my mind. I remember being there for the Monday Night Football game against the Colts when the Colts were just really going through it, and Drew absolutely tore him up. So anyway, we'll do some of that in the coming days and leading up to the trip to Ohio to watch him get enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That should be super exciting as well. Tell you what we'll do here. We'll take a break. When we return, we do have some Houston Astros stuff for you. The Stros won again last night. It's Astros After Dark. If you haven't been staying up to watch them, I've got you covered. Really good baseball game last night. And once again, I think for the second straight night, it's kind of fun sometimes to play against a bad baseball team. I'll explain what I mean after the break. You're listening to the LohDown. Stay tuned.
This is the LohDown with D-Lo, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
With storm season having arrived, ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana sports station, and Mid-South Power Solutions in Crowley bring you these hurricane safety tips. Make sure to secure your home and bring in outdoor items before the storm makes landfall. We've still been seeing a couple storms swirling around in the Gulf, so keep an eye on them, of course. Have an emergency kit stocked with water, food, and medications. Know your evacuation routes and listen to local authorities. Stay informed with the battery-powered radio, which, of course, also means make sure you have fresh batteries on hand and the right type, I might add. Remember, safety is in your hands. These hurricane preparedness tips are powered by Mid-South Power Solutions in Crowley, your local Generac dealer. Visit midsouthpowersolutions.com.
ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is the proud winner of 4 2026 LAB Prestige Awards, including Best Use of Digital Media, Foot's Friday Fury, Best Live On-Site Remote for our Super Bowl Radio Row coverage, Best Promotion for our No Shave November initiative, and Radio Young Professional of the Year for Dawson Iserloh. We're proud of being Southwest Louisiana's sports station and are humbled to be recognized by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters.
Around Acadiana, community means supporting the businesses that make our hometown special. That's why we're proud to spotlight local companies that are certified South Louisiana.
Delta Home Center and Delta Trailer Sales, your one-stop shop for utility and cargo trailers. Heavy-duty dump and gooseneck trailers, portable buildings, cabins, decks, porches, fences, carports, and site-built metal shops. Located at Exit 7 in Carencro or at deltatrailersales.com.
When you support local businesses, you strengthen the communities we call home. Shop local, support local. Certified South Louisiana.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National Guard, aired by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters and this station.
MeTV is America's #1 classic entertainment television network. And here's one of the reasons everybody loves MeTV.
Oh, it's a classic.
The great comedy lineup on weeknights.
This will be fun. Come on.
With MASH.
Loaded with snappy comebacks.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I was just funning with Barney.
And Everybody Loves Raymond.
Now we got a show.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on Channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0471. 800-245-0471. 800-245-0471. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0471.
Do yourself a favor and download the free ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app, powered by Moss Motors BMW for your Android or Apple devices. Download the app by searching ESPN 1037 Lafayette or ESPN 1041 Lake Charles. It's just that easy to take Southwest Louisiana's sports station with you wherever you go.
All right, I said that we were going to do a little Major League Baseball to finish off the hour with the Astros, and we will, but I also have this kind of like weird Tarek Skubal thing that just went down, so I want to share that as well. Obviously, if you've been following the baseball trade deadline rumors, Tarek Skubal's perhaps the biggest name that's being discussed. The Detroit Tigers, off of a really nice season last year, they went out, they were aggressive, they added Framber Valdez in the offseason, and Tarek Skubal's been, I mean, legitimately one of probably the best left-handed pitcher in baseball for a couple years now. So Tigers have all this positive momentum. They're ready to contend. A.J. Hinch is their manager. They're feeling good about their lineup. This can be a great year for them. And then it was a bad start to the season, really bad. And there have been some weird things with Skubal, like he's kind of appeared out of shape, a little overweight at times, but he's still putting up big numbers. That's the one thing, too. I went this morning after all these, like, rumors were swirling around, and I was like, man, I got to check in. Like, what are the numbers for Skubal? Is there really like a drop-off? Not really. I mean, he's not as dominant as last year when he had a 2.21 ERA, but he's 7-5 with a 2.70. He's got 110 strikeouts in 90 innings. Like, the dude's still dominant and still really, really good. Still pitching at an all-star level, no doubt about it. So, yeah, like the fall-off hasn't exactly really happened. He is 29 years old, and of course, a lot of these things, it's contract related. Like, do the Tigers want to sign him to a long-term deal? Probably not. He's on a 1-year, $32 million deal this year. It's, arbitration, all those things of that nature, but he's eligible for free agency in 27. So there's an idea. Maybe the Tigers will try and get something for him if they don't think they can sign him to a long-term deal, now that they're also not very good. I mentioned yesterday, one of the really confusing things about the Detroit Tigers is they have one of the best run differentials in the American League, but they're 6 games under 500. They won 14-0 yesterday. The Tigers have the exact same run differential right now as the Tampa Bay Rays, who are 62-44, and yet the Tigers are 51-57. So some of that suggests they've had some real bad luck, and eventually they're going to win some close games, and maybe they'll get back into the mix. The question for Detroit is that willing to, are you willing to potentially get nothing for Skubal in the offseason, right? If you let him play out the rest of the year, and obviously you can't trade him then. He's a free agent. He signs wherever he wants, and doesn't sound like Detroit is very confident in getting him back. Or do you just go ahead, try to get something for him now and kind of accept the fact that you're probably significantly lessening your chances to win anything this year? That's a tough spot to be in, no doubt. So I kept thinking, like, it probably just makes more sense for them to keep him and see, in addition to everything else, like, it's not a great offseason to be a free agent because we've got this impending potential work stoppage with the CBA. So that could get really dicey. I don't think Skubal probably loves the idea of trying to enter the open market in such a murky year. So just let him play it out, see what happens, and maybe this thing will work out for you in the long run if you're Detroit. That was my thought of how it's going to happen. Well, today, Skubal with Detroit, who, as I mentioned yesterday, got like a completely dominant victory. He pitched against the Orioles, and he pitched really well again, shocker. 6 2/3, 4 hits, 1 run. He struck out 6. They're likely going to win this game again, by the way, and get to 52-57 overall. They're up 7-1 in the 7th. The Tigers' social media team posted a picture of Skubal tipping his cap to the crowd, essentially, holding his glove up, hand over his heart, and they just tweeted the goat emoji. It sure looks like a goodbye post, is what I'm saying. It sure looks like a thank you for what you've done, farewell. As always, I have to remind people sometimes, the people who run the social media teams for baseball teams and any professional sports team is not the GM. I can guarantee you Mickey Loomis does not fire off tweets off the @Saints account, okay? So sometimes it's the social media team doing their best to make their own statement when it has nothing to do with actual decisions. But you have to imagine this was brought up the higher up and they approved this. So I now think there's a more than likely chance that it will be a deal being done for Skubal. And I don't know how many different suitors there's going to be. You always wonder, would the Yankees make a move on that? Would it be a team like Milwaukee? Would they get super aggressive given how, good a season they're having and their struggles in the postseason? I don't know, but we'll have to find out sooner rather than later because, as we mentioned, the trade deadline's less than a week away. As for the Stros last night, Astros after dark again. They get it going in the first. Yordan Alvarez hit a homer in the first inning last night. That might be the single loudest home run that's ever been hit in Major League Baseball history. Might be approaching shot heard round the world territory. That thing just smashed into the bleachers. He is continuing his MVP season. As if that wasn't enough. Later on, which, by the way, Peter Lambert, again, five innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, struck out 6. Like, the dude just keeps giving you solid outings. Yeah, I'd love to see him go a little longer than 5, but he did run the pitch count up to 90 a little bit, and the bullpen was perfect for the Astros last night. How about this? The Astros bullpen, in 4 complete innings of work, did not give up a single base runner. 2 strikeouts for Enyel De Los Santos, 1 for Abreu, 2 for Okert, and then Josh Hader actually pitched to contact in a clean 9th inning. The reason Hader was in there for a save situation, despite a 2-2 tie entering the top of the 9th, was Yordan Alvarez. The Astros looked for a little bit there like they were going to get into some trouble and maybe not get that run home, but after Nick Allen, of all people, doubled the lead off the inning, and then Lucas Spence struck out, Vasquez singled, put runners on the corners, Jeremy Pena struck out, so they had a base open here. Christian Vasquez is at first, Nick Allen is at third. You can walk the bases loaded by putting Yordan Alvarez on and facing Isaac Paredes. Instead, they pitch to Yordan. He hits an absolute missile right up the middle. Base hit, 3-2 Astros lead, and the Astros would ultimately win the game. So they get another one. They are just 1 game below 500 right now. I mentioned yesterday as well that the Rangers and Mariners were both playing really good baseball teams, so maybe there was going to be a chance to make up some ground. Well, unfortunately, the Rangers beat the Rays and the Mariners beat the Dodgers, so you didn't actually gain any ground in the division, but you stayed in the fight. 2 games behind Texas right now. 2.5 games back are the Mariners, so that puts the Astros, if you're doing the math at home, a half game ahead of Seattle for second place. If you flip it over to the American League wildcard race, the Stros are just 1 game back of the Cleveland Guardians, who currently have a record of 55-54. They are a half game behind the Twins, who are 54-54. The Red Sox occupy wildcard spot number 2, and the Yankees occupy wildcard spot number 1, with, of course, Tampa Bay leading the division in the East. But the Astros have 54 wins. 2 of the 3 division leaders in the AL have 55 wins. So they are certainly in a spot, I wouldn't say a great spot, but they're in a spot that's by no means daunting to try and figure out how they're going to get out of this hole. The leaders in the NL have a lot more wins than that. 67 apiece for the Dodgers and Brewers, 62 for the Atlanta Braves. RP3's Atlanta Braves, by the way, who are still going right now in a 2-2 ball game in the top of the 7th against the New York Mets. The Braves just got 2 in the 6th to tie that thing up. Matt Olson still hitting homers in a Braves uniform. All right, we'll go ahead and do this. We'll take a break now. When we return, it'll be the start of hour number 2. Our friend Zach Nagy will join us to talk all things LSU. Sports Center after the timeout. You're listening to the LohDown.
Did you know you can get great tasting Clear Springs artesian water delivered to your office or your doorstep at home? Clear Springs is 100% local with their own bottling facility at the world-famous Kentwood Aquifer, no chemicals added. Just pure Kentwood, Louisiana artesian water. Clear Springs Water offers delivery of 5 or 3-gallon water service with a hot and cold temperature water cooler or even single-serve bottles delivered to your home or office. Easy to reach, clearsprings.net, then contact us tab or 337-519-3563.
Imagine a place where wellness, luxury, and community come together. Welcome to City Club at River Ranch, Acadiana's premier private club. Enjoy a state-of-the-art fitness center, exceptional tennis and pickleball programs, resort-style amenities, and a vibrant social atmosphere. Whether you're pursuing your fitness goals or expanding your social circle, City Club offers an unmatched member experience. Visit cityclubatriverranch.com today. City Club at River Ranch, where lifestyle meets distinction.
Looking for a great deal on golf this summer? Head to Farm Alley Golf Course for the Sizzlin' Summer Special. Every Tuesday through Thursday, tee off anytime between noon and 3:30 and enjoy 18 holes of championship golf, including a cart for just $55. That's unbeatable summer golf at an unbeatable price. Gather your friends, sharpen your game, and make the most of your afternoons at Farm Alley Golf Course. Book your tee time today and take advantage of the sizzling summer special, only at Farm Alley.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National Guard. Aired by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Live from Upper Lafayette, this is ESPN 1037 KLWB Carencro Lafayette, KLCJ-FM Oak Grove Lake Charles 1041, a Delta Media station.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Ed Benkin. NFL training camps are underway, and the injury bug is already biting. Bengals defensive end Shamar Stewart was carted off the field during practice today. He suffered a left leg injury. Saints defensive lineman Brian Brzee suffered a knee injury, and they are fearing it is a torn ACL. Panthers rookie wide receiver Chris Brazell II went down in a non-contact play, as first reported by The Athletic and confirmed to ESPN. Brazell suffered a moderate LCL tear in his left knee and is expected to be out for about 8 weeks. At Falcons camp, Tua Tagovailoa is dealing with what is being called a flare-up, and Michael Penix Jr. is still working his way back for a knee injury, which Coach Kevin Stefanski says is on schedule.
Every player, every injury you treat differently, and you treat based on the how the person's doing, the checkpoints, all those things. He's hitting every single checkpoint. So I'm very, very confident in the plan.
Meanwhile, Vegas coach Clint Kubiak says Kirk Cousins will get the reps with the top unit as training camp is underway. To baseball, the Marlins beat the Phillies 8-6 to complete a 3-game sweep of their series. The Diamondbacks topped the Pirates 3-0.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Thursday, Aaron Rodgers says this season is his last. I'll tell you what success looks like for the Steelers in 2026. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Dawson Iserlo prides himself on taking a deep dive to uncover all the relevant data about the sports and sports teams he loves. And now he's sharing all those facts inside his big brain with all of you. Here is the LohDown with D-Lo on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
It is the LohDown, hour number 2 of 2 inside the Beal and Hebert studios in Upper Lafayette. Excited to have you join us here on what is the first day of New Orleans Saints training camp. That's been a big focus of our first hour. Of course, the unfortunate news about Brian Brezee's injury. We've broke down kind of what that defensive line room could look like without him. Obviously, I mean, look, still holding out hope that somehow this is an overreaction, but with multiple reports indicating that it looks like a torn ACL, this is not a good start to Saints camp. We are going to switch gears a little bit here in the second hour. We're going to talk about some other things. We're about to get with our friend Zach Nagy with his back in his normal Wednesday time slot. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to switch gears to basketball for a bit. It's been a while since we talked to Ali Cassell. LeBron has a new home. What's that fit like? Are the Pelicans ever going to make any moves again? Those are the questions and more we will figure out with our friend Ali. But as I mentioned, to start things off here in the second hour, Zach Nagy covers the LSU Tigers. Go 247. He's been doing great work with them ever since hopping on board, and he's kind enough to join us Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. Zach, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, man, doing good. Obviously shaking back from a strong SEC Media Days week last week, of course, and now we're gearing up for LSU fall camp. Man, we're 1 week away. They take the field next Wednesday, August 5th, rather. Super excited to talk some ball with you, man.
Let's start with Media Days. Of course, for those who may have missed it, Zach joined us on Thursday after LSU had taken to the podium, kind of got some instant reaction, right? But we were still in the hustle of Media Days. So as you've had some time to reflect on it, of course, write a bunch for Go 247, things of that nature, what are you going to take away from Media Day 2026?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This isn't going to be the popular LSU fan pick here. But I loved what Pete Golding had to say at the podium. And I'll get to the LSU take in 1 second, but man, Pete Golding crushed it, Dawson. And it's pretty easy to say that. He's a fan favorite. He's a likable guy. He's charismatic, and he keeps it real. And so I thought when he was at the podium, he was a big-time SEC Media Days winner. In my opinion, probably the biggest SEC Media Days winner, man. I loved what he brought to the table there. It might not translate to wins for them in 2026. It's a daunting schedule for them, of course, with some big-time opponents on the schedule. But I loved what he brought to the table in Tampa, a really strong showing for Pete Golding. And then on the LSU side, of course, I loved what Lane Kiffin did when it came to that 17-minute filibuster, avoiding questions, only taking 4 while at the podium. But we had the chance to talk to him before he did take the podium, and I loved what he said about Sam Leavitt and the confidence that they have in him as he continues to get back to full strength. I love talking to Trey'Dez Green about the creativity in this offense and how it'll allow him to unlock his full potential. And lastly, the roster construction from Lane Kiffin. I mean, he absolutely crushed it there when he was dissecting that, and how LSU is going to continue to take advantage of the quote-unquote flaws that the NCAA has right now from an NIL perspective. So a really strong week in Tampa. LSU is obviously a hot topic. I love just about everything that had to do with the purple and gold.
Well, you mentioned roster construction. That's a pretty good segue. We get news yesterday about these lawsuits. So Ole Miss is going to kind of back up what they'd been kind of hinting at this for a while now, and Golding had made some comments that maybe suggested that this was going to be explored. We get the official notion that they're going to file lawsuits against Prince Will Umamiel. Let's do it again. Zach, could you say the name for me, please?
Umamielen.
Umamielen. There it is. I'm usually pretty good with names. This one's, there's just so many vowels in there. It's tripping me up. All right, Prince Will. We'll stick with that for now. Among others here. So both he, interestingly enough, TJ Dowdery not mentioned in this because it has to do with players who had immediately signed rev share contracts. So all these details are coming out. Ole Miss is seeking $1 million in, damages or whatever you want to call it. What do you make of the official lawsuits being filed after so much speculation about it?
Yeah, I think it was inevitable, right? I think Ole Miss was always going to try to go down this route to try to recoup some of that money. You know, when you're talking about Prince William Yellen, you're talking about a guy where they're trying to get over $500,000 surrounding him when it comes to getting that money back for their 2026 and then future 2027 roster. When it comes to Devin Harper, it's a little over $400,000 that they're trying to recoup there. So, Dawson, we're talking a little bit south of $1 million surrounding what LSU would owe them. And the thing here is, Dawson, it's not LSU that owes them that. So let me kind of break that down in the sense of this is solely on the players right now. You know, did LSU tell the players, hey, we'll pay the buyouts to Ole Miss? Maybe. That's to be seen. But at this current stage, they're suing Prince William and Devin Harper to recoup that money, not LSU. So it's really unique. There's a bunch of different verbiage where, look, I'm not a lawyer, so luckily this isn't my strong suit, but I'll tell you what, it's a super interesting situation. Ole Miss is trying to get some of this money back. There's a lot of ins and outs that I'm intrigued to see go down over the next couple of days, weeks, etc. Are they going to try to go after Caden Lee, who went from Ole Miss to Missouri? Did he sign a rev share agreement with Ole Miss before departing, of course, for Missouri? So a lot of different elements here that I'm intrigued to see get dissected, a lot of different avenues that people can go down. But nonetheless, LSU once again remains in the spotlight, and it just sets the stage even further for that September 19th matchup in Oxford.
And also just to clarify one element of it, because I have been asked about this, Zach, like nothing about this lawsuit is questioning whether or not these guys are going to play for LSU in the fall, right? This is all strictly financial stuff.
Absolutely spot on.
So it is going to be definitely another, and I wonder too, like what the fallout of this is, because as we've talked about it in the past, Zach, it probably does need to be put in place, maybe a buyout system. And so, the way this thing ends up landing in court, it is interesting, too, if you say it's about more the players than the programs, because I envision a system eventually where the program is in, maybe responsible for paying these buyouts, right, to go poach these players. But in this case, if it's about the players, then that's maybe not what they're really fighting about anyway.
Exactly. And that's where it gets super tricky, man, because I'm going to be an advocate for it. If you sign the contract, then you are contractually bound to that. And if you do owe a buyout, you owe that buyout. So that might not be the LSU favorite kind of perspective there, but if the roles were reversed, heck yeah. I mean, you'd want LSU or the players, et cetera, to be compensated accordingly if they're breaking that contractually bound agreement. So I totally understand Ole Miss's perspective here. So I'm not going to be this LSU homer that says, hey, try to find these other avenues to get away with without paying this buyout. No, I think that if you do owe this amount of money, let's get it over with, make it happen, and move on. Because it's been a saga that's been dragged out since February. So it's been a really long stretch here, but that's where it gets tricky, Dawson. Does it go to the university when it comes to the buyouts, or is it each player? And again, that's just the different verbiage that I'm really intrigued to see what happens in the court system, because to my understanding right now, it is Ole Miss specifically taking Prince Umanmielen and Devin Harper to court in order to try to recoup that $500,000 and then a little bit over $400,000 from Devin Harper.
No doubt. It's going to be potentially a pretty big decision that we'll see how far the dominoes fall after that. All right, actual football, man. We joked about it. One of the themes of SEC Media Days, Kirby Smart wants to talk more football. He doesn't want to talk about all this other stuff. So when it comes to camp, when it opens up next week, what's the first thing you're looking at? Now that it's here, now that you've had a chance to hear what everybody says, everybody's in good moods right now, everybody's healthy. What are you fired up for?
Yeah, a ton, man. And there's three things when it comes to LSU that I'm going to be kind of locking in on once they give us that media access schedule to see how much availability we actually do get. But number one, no doubt it's going to be Sam Leavitt. He's back in the saddle, fully cleared, trying to get back to full strength, ready to go. Lane Kiffin talked about it today at his Rotary Club meeting where he was talking to those in attendance about Sam, and how it's just about getting down pat, his rhythm and getting back into a gear there. He's at full strength, but it's about just getting down the little things. So I want to see Sam Leavitt obviously trying to get into a rhythm, see the rapport that he's built with the receivers, and go from there. So that's number one. And then number two, of course, sticking on the receivers. We've always seen Lane Kiffin have 4 to 5 guys that kind of rise to the top with his receivers. There's a wide receiver one, but he loves to utilize a ton of different weapons. So for me, I want to see if it's Jace Brown, Eugene Wilson, Jackson Harris, and Winnie Watkins. Are those the 4 guys that have risen to the top during summer workouts? And then lastly, the defensive tackle room. Dawson, that's the biggest position battle of the entire offseason. Deuce Gerald can be penciled in as a starter. This is a true freshman that we're talking about who's going to start on the defensive line. But who's going to be next to him at defensive tackle? Will it be Malik Blockton, another true freshman in Richard Anderson, Steph Green, the Clemson transfer? Or will Dominic McKinley finally have that breakout offseason that we've been waiting for? Those are the three things that I'm super intrigued about when it comes to this fall camp in August.
One name, Zach, that I just kept hearing all about, and I've heard it from you, I've heard it from everybody, and it did not slow down at SEC Media Days. Just how big could the impact of safety Ty Benefield be?
Dawson, I will tell you this, man. He is a true game changer. You talk about what he's done both on and off the field. He's won over the locker room. There is a ton of respect that's been generated by his peers, and it starts with Whit Weeks. I had the chance to talk to him where he said that he believes Ty Benefield can be a surefire first-round pick in the 2027 NFL draft. I mean, he thinks that he is that good. He is just a workhorse. He's there at 5 a.m., staying there late. Every cliche that you want to think about when you talk about these game-changing players, he's putting in the work. And then when you talk about him on the field, he's a 6'3", 200-plus pound brick house on the field that is not scared to put his shoulder down and be a physical player. So I fully believe Ty Benefield is going to be a game wrecker for this program. He is that talented. He has the physical kind of intangibles that you're looking for. I cannot wait to see the impact that he has, but nonetheless has the chance to be the best player on this LSU team. I firmly believe that.
Zach Nagy is our guest, covers the LSU Tigers for Go247. We are discussing the LSU offseason, of course, getting ready for football training camp. But I do want to finish the conversation with Zach with a little bit of baseball, because this one kind of slipped through the cracks a couple days ago. Logan Schmidt is an LSU signee, and he was drafted in the second round of the MLB draft. So a lot of us just assumed, all right, well, he's gone. So, scratch him off your list. We were doing the whole fall camp roster with LSU baseball, knowing how many players they have available, things of that nature. Now you go, well, hold on a minute. He decides not to sign with the Guardians. He was ranked number 12th into this in this prospect class, but it's a little more complicated than that because just because he's not signing and heading to the big leagues now, he's got the option to go to junior college. And you might go, wait a minute, the top 15 ranked player in the country, why would he want to go to junior college? Well, JUCO allows you to re-enter the draft after 1 year instead of having to spend potentially 3 at a Division I institution. So what are you hearing, Zach, about Logan Schmidt's decision, and what is the likelihood, in your opinion, that he does play in Baton Rouge next year versus playing at some junior college?
Yeah, it's a great question, Dawson. I mean, this is one that behind the scenes was becoming a major topic for Jay Johnson and company, and then ultimately Monday's draft deadline to sign, we'll say draft deadline, but we'll say that signing deadline per se, came really quickly. And then he made his decision over the weekend that, hey, I'm not going to sign with the Cleveland Guardians. They only had $1.7 million to work with after signing their other players drafted. His asking price was north of $3 million, so it didn't really make much sense for him to sign for quote-unquote peanuts, if that's what we want to call it. And so he made the decision, hey, I'm not going to sign with them. Let's pivot and see what our alternate options are going to be. LSU and JUCO are now on the table. LSU's pushing. This is one, Dawson, where, of course, this is a top 12, top 15 player in America who's a really talented southpaw that you'd love to have on your roster. So Jay Johnson and company are certainly pushing behind the scenes. Right now, from my understanding, is that JUCO route is really appealing to him just to get back into the draft next year and try to get back up to that asking price. It's tricky, man. When you look at guys who have gone the JUCO route, they don't necessarily get the money that he's asking for. So would it be better for him to go to college at LSU? Maybe. But he's a younger guy, Dawson. I mean, Logan Schmidt reclassified up. So he just turned, let's say, 17 years old. He'd have to stay for 3 years at LSU no matter what in order to get back into the MLB draft if he went to a 4-year institution. Super tricky situation here, man, but a lot of buzz is pointing in that JUCO route. But LSU is not shying away from trying to get him to campus at all.
No doubt. Interesting stuff there. So a day where we had some intricate conversations about eligibility, lawsuits, and more, Zach. Appreciate you for doing it. And we're getting closer and closer, as we all know, to talking real ball. And that's when the excitement begins. So thank you for doing this, buddy. Enjoy the rest of the offseason, and we'll be full steam ahead pretty soon here.
Yeah, man, no doubt we're here. Talking season's quieting down, getting ready for some time where the pads are on. And excited to talk some ball soon, man. We'll talk next week.
That's our guy, Zach Nagy, covers LSU for 247 Sports. Go 247's where you can find all of his work, and he's at ZNagy20 on Twitter. All right, we'll do this. We'll take a break. We'll reset some things a little bit. We've got a couple other things of note happening in the world of sports. You know what? I did at least mention at the beginning of the show, the PGA Tour is doing a couple unique things with this week's 3M Open. I mean, not 3M, the Rocket Mortgage. Last week was the 3M Open. I'll share what they're doing and why it's it's at least cool that the PGA Tour is willing to try some new things right now. That's next.
This is the LohDown with D-Lo, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Drew Brees rewrote the NFL record books as he helped lead the New Orleans Saints to a Super Bowl victory. Now he'll put on that gold jacket, have his bronze bust revealed, and be put into the Pro Football Hall of Fame forever. RP3, D-Lo, and Mesh, D-Lo is me, will be there live on Friday, August 7th in Canton, Ohio to witness it all with a 3-hour special show right here on these airwaves. Noon to 3, it's the gold standard presented by Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. You can hear it right here. You can watch it on the YouTube stream. It's all presented by our friends Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers on Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Do you need more of the fellas here on Southwest Louisiana's sports station? Of course you do. So go make sure and subscribe to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles YouTube channel at ESPN_SWLA. Don't forget to turn that bell on so you get notifications for new episodes of Four Tire Change Podcast, where Dawson Iserlo talks all things NASCAR, or Cleats and Sneaks with James Mesh. Get yourself more of Southwest Louisiana's sports station at ESPN_SWLA on YouTube.
The heart of Acadiana is its local businesses, the people, families, and companies that help our communities thrive. Here's a message from a proud certified South Louisiana business.
Candyland Cottage is the place to satisfy all your cravings. Find delicious ice creams, fresh fudges, truffles, hot dogs, sausage po' boys, Frito pies, and homemade shakes. Visit us in Scott and Rain for a sweet treat. Plan your next birthday party or field trip at Candyland Cottage.
Shop local, support local. Certified South Louisiana.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce exhibit number 1.
MeTV is America's #1 classic television network.
There can only be one #1, me.
MeTV features over 60 of the greatest classic TV series each week.
Go with the winner.
Enjoy dramas, comedies, westerns, sci-fi, and more.
You just watch me.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
MeTV is memorable entertainment television.
We are the soldiers of the Louisiana Army National Guard. We are your neighbors. We are your sons and daughters. While we serve part-time, we are learning valuable life and job skills. We are earning money for college, for trade and technical schools, and for certifications. We are proud to serve both our country and our home state. We are your Louisiana Army National Guard.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National Guard. Aired by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters and this station.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the LHSAA, are the 110,000 high school sports students in Louisiana. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer, and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
You're listening to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station. Your home for the Houston Astros.
All right, so I mentioned the PGA Tour, right? Doing some unique things. I'm in for trying new stuff, okay? And that's what it appears like our friends at the tour are doing with the Rocket Classic. This is the last iteration of it, by the way. They've already replaced it on the schedule for next year. So last time that the city of Detroit gets this event. Two things. For one, they are doing, along with PGA Tour Live and ESPN Plus, they're doing a new announcer-free broadcast stream leaning into player-caddy conversations, crowd reactions, and natural course audio. I'm all in on this. I actually really like. They're calling it Quiet Please. It's going to be commentary-free, just like straight-up, let's watch the golf. I've always, I know this is probably not for the majority of the audience, because I don't know how many of you actually watch, PGA Tour Live coverage of these events, but I do, and I know our guy Ralph does. So it's always a little tough for these announcers to just kind of have stuff to fill 18 holes of golf with when they're only following one group, right? They're not bouncing around, because that's what PGA Tour Live essentially is. It's featured group coverage, so you're watching, at the bigger tournaments, it'll probably be like a Scotty, a Rory, and a Xander Schauffele play their entire round as opposed to bouncing all over the place. And so it does get awkward at times, and it's tough to do. This is awesome. Like, to just put this on and have this in the background to watch it in its like pure state, get the feeling of, like, that's one of the coolest things for me in attending golf tournaments, is because you get those, you get that access right up. You can walk up. Everybody has to be quiet because that's golf etiquette. And so you can hear the caddy and the player discussing it. Hey, trust it. Here's the number. Here's what the wind's doing. What do you think? You think 9-iron? You think 8-iron? Like, what should we do here? Work it out. Hey, it's a full shot to cut. Cut it in there a little bit. Let's play it in off the wind. Let's play to the front of the green. Like, you hear all that. It's really, really cool, especially for somebody who enjoys the game and isn't very great at it. So I'm all in on that. The second thing they're doing, which is, again, I'm going to go ahead and give them credit for just trying some new stuff. Live on Golf Channel tonight, they are putting a building in downtown Detroit. They're putting a tee box on a rooftop, and they've built a custom green an island green 117 yards away. I'm looking at the picture of it. They have this building lined up to try and hit these shots from one end of downtown Detroit to the other. And 6 golfers are going to do it. I'm all in here. Now, I have 100 questions, like what happens if they miss this green and you have golf balls flying through downtown Detroit? I imagine they've planned ahead and they have answers to those questions, but that's one that I'm asking. I guess I could ask what happens. Is it does the winner get something? Like, they're calling it par 3 in the D, referencing Detroit, I suppose. This sounds awesome, but like, what's it actually going to look like? So I'll tell you what, I had no plans to turn Golf Channel on tonight at 6 p.m., and they have convinced me. It is Shark Week, by the way, while we have a minute. I love Shark Week. I thought about trying to do like a Shark Week inspired segment. I didn't have, I decided it's going to be one that has to wait. I'll say this, though. I think having a couple Shark-like players on your roster when it comes to football, you got to have a couple guys who seek blood in the water, right? You got to have a couple of those on your team. So maybe that's where the conversation goes when it comes to Shark Week. I just love watching those videos where they talk about these giant beasts that live in the water and have been living in the oceans for, thousands of years, and how old some of these are, like these great whites that get these battle scars that stick with them forever. Fascinating stuff. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. In addition to my Shark Week watching tonight and the Astros, which I'll have a recap for you on ESPN SouthwestLouisiana.com, I've also got to make time to apparently watch 6 golfers hit par 3 tee shots off of a rooftop in downtown Detroit on the Golf Channel. So it's a full evening for me. It's shaping up to be, it appears. Also wanted to pressure wash my house, so we got to get all that done. All right, we'll do this. We'll take a break now. When we return, as I mentioned before, I want to get Ollie's takes on this LeBron signing, what the Eastern Conference is going to look like. The Pelicans are still not doing anything, so we haven't, we'll just do very limited amount of NBA talk as we lead up to football season, but Ollie's who I'll lean on for that. So we'll do that after the timeout. We'll get his thoughts on things, and then we'll be back to wrap things up after that. So still got about a half hour left of this Wednesday edition of the LohDown. You're listening to ESPN 103.7 in Lafayette, 104.1 in Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana Sports Station.
This is the LohDown with D-Lo, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros took Game 2 and the series last night against the Los Angeles Angels with a 3-2 win in Anaheim. The Astros once again needed a 9th-inning boost to get over the line, this time coming off of an RBI single to center field from Yordan Alvarez. Game 3 of the series will be tonight, and it'll be Hayden Wesneski for the Astros versus Grayson Rodriguez for the Angels. First pitch is at 8:38 p.m., and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. The New Orleans Saints officially put the pads on today and get to work for the first day of training camp. Today's session is closed to the fans, but starting tomorrow, the next 5 practices will be open to the public. Ohio State Athletics made headlines yesterday after announcing a new jersey sponsorship with J.P. Morgan Chase. All 36 Buckeye athletic programs will now feature a Chase Bank sponsorship patch as part of the new deal that is valued at more than $15 million annually for Ohio State. The Acadiana Cane Cutters came up just short last night to the Lake Charles Gumbo Gators, losing 2-1 in Game 1 of a best-of-3 semifinal series. Game 2 of the semifinals between the Gumbo Gators and the Cane Cutters is tonight at 7 p.m. at Fallbacher Field. Ole Miss has filed breach of contract lawsuits against current LSU Tigers Princewell Umamielen and Devin Harper. The two followed Coach Kiffin of Baton Rouge after remaining with the Rebels throughout their playoff run, and now the university is seeking a combined $1 million between Umamielen and Harper. I'm Blake Persher, and you're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. Drew Brees set a new standard for quarterback play, and now the Saints legend will be immortalized in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. RP3, D-Lo, and Mesh will be there for this historic occasion with a special 3-hour live broadcast from Canton, Ohio. Tune in Friday, August 7th for the Gold Standard. Presented by Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. Right here on ESPN, 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles. Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
You thinking trailers? Think Tibbs. Whether you tug it, tow it, or transport it, Tibbs Trailers is your headquarters for enclosed, flatbed, and hydraulic trailers. You won't find a better selection or a better price than right here. We've got the experts to repair or customize your trailer so it'll be ready for whatever you pull it through. Why would you go anywhere else when you can go to Tibbs Trailers? Now we're talking trailers.
Between Scott and Doosan.
Oh, look who's here.
Everybody Loves Raymond is on MeTV.
Who told you that?
Raymond!
America's #1 classic TV network.
Nothing even comes close.
Enjoy 2 back-to-back episodes every weeknight.
We're doing it twice.
Watch Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, it's all about you, Raymond.
Weeknights starting at 8 on MeTV.
Watch Meet TV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
We are the soldiers of the Louisiana Army National Guard. We are your neighbors. We are your sons and daughters. While we serve part-time, we are learning valuable life and job skills. We are earning money for college, for trade and technical schools, and for certifications. We are proud to serve both our country and our home state. We are your Louisiana Army National Guard.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National Guard. Aired by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters and this station.
I've been driving trucks for a long time. Safety is my #1 priority. I know that my truck has huge blind spots. That's why I remember to check my mirrors often for smaller vehicles. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're behind the wheel, try to avoid lingering in those blind spots. It can be dangerous. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Man, I loved playing high school sports growing up. And it's fun being a fan now, don't get me wrong, but sitting in the stands feels like I'm missing out on all the action, you know? I wanted to get back in the game, so I signed up to be a high school official. It takes me back to my playing days. I'm supporting students, and I get paid to make the big calls. Do you want to see the game up close? Sign up to become an official in Louisiana at highschoolofficials.com.
You're listening to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles. Your home for the best local sports talk in Southwest Louisiana.
We welcome you back in. The Lowdown continues on a Wednesday. Been a little bit since we talked to our friend Ali Cassell. Of course, the NBA offseason, a lot of it had kind of wrapped, except for this one big decision that was going to be made by arguably the greatest ever in LeBron James. He has made that decision, though, so we now have a new landscape in the Eastern Conference, and Ali is back with us to discuss it. Ali, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, Dawson. Things are going well outside of being outside in this heat, right?
Yeah, it is clearly that time of the summer, man. You can feel it for sure. So we'll start with the elephant in the room, right? LeBron's going to Philadelphia. I didn't see that coming. I mean, you can make the argument basketball-wise, but I just thought, and we discussed it the last time we had you on, when you're talking about tying up loose ends, I felt like Cleveland made the most sense. I thought I could understand the Golden State element if he wanted to be with Steph Curry. I really just didn't think he'd kind of begin this new journey, though, in a spot he's never been, in a place that hasn't won a whole lot, but that's what he decides to do. What was your immediate reaction to LeBron signing with the Sixers?
Yeah, so what it really goes to show us is that he wasn't ready just to ride out in the sunset by having fun, which I kind of honestly thought was going to happen, right? That's why I was so fixated on the Warriors, playing golf with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, drinking wine, right, and being close to his hometown in Los Angeles, right? So just having that short, quick flight to San Francisco made all the sense in the world. But from our understanding, from everything that's come out, yes, I think winning is still clearly a priority. And once Philadelphia honestly made that trade and just stole Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics, I think that set completely the wheels in motion for LeBron going to Philadelphia. Otherwise, he probably would have ended up with either the Cavaliers or maybe some other team, right? Maybe, say, another team trades for Jaylen Brown. Heard the Warriors had interest in him, and had they done that deal, maybe LeBron's a Warrior. But the fact how everything played out honestly kind of cemented LeBron going to Philly from, like I said, my understanding. He still wants to win. He thinks he can win, and he really wants to get his fifth championship under his belt.
He signs a 2-year, $8 million deal, Ollie, which is incredibly team friendly, of course. Now we knew there was different versions of this where he'd sign elsewhere, but like I couldn't help but sit there and feel like, and I understand there were a couple different things about the Lakers situation that LeBron was just done with and ready to move on from. But don't you think the Lakers have to be sitting there going, dude, if you'd have signed a 2-year, $8 million deal with us, we could have figured some stuff out. We were working so hard to add centers and pieces on this roster. We never could because of how much cap space you were taking up.
Yeah, I think that shows you honestly kind of how that relationship had soured, right? We had heard over the last few years there, he felt disrespected at times, right? Whether not being included in that decision to have Anthony Davis traded, for instance, some other key personnel moves. For instance, I know that he had desperately wanted the Lakers for the last several years to make deadline moves to improve the team, to give him a better chance to win a championship. That really never transpired. So, again, he probably left, and from my understanding, he parted with the Lakers on not the best of terms, right? Neither party was really talking to one another. It doesn't sound like the Lakers were really interested in having him back. So, again, that's not a surprise. That concluded, and even if he had been willing to cut a deal for another team, I doubt it would have been the Lakers, right? Like I said, because of everything that transpired there. So why would he give them a break when he probably felt they never really gave him a break, did everything they could to help him win? So I think Philadelphia, again, you gave them that chance, right? You signed for the minimum because of the team that's there, which, again, shows you right where his mindset is at. He wants to win. And so joining a team that's as ready to win as probably any team in the East now, he's going to give them that break by signing for the minimum. He wouldn't have done it probably too many other places, no.
Do you read anything into him signing a 2-year deal? We kind of had this expectation for a little bit, like he was signing somewhere for a 1-year farewell tour. Does the 2-year deal give you any idea, with also a player option at the end of it, does it give you any idea that this might be a multi-year thing, or is he still going to play it year to year?
I think obviously he's going to go to year to year. There's been a lot of talk, right, that this past year might have, in his mind, was going to be it. It sounded like he was ready to retire, but of course having the summer off, the way he played in that last playoff series that, you know, the Lakers beat the Houston Rockets and were able to advance past the first round. I heard that may have changed his opinion on his ability to keep playing and having the love for the game. But again, I look at, he's got 23 years under his belt. I always thought he's going to go for 25, right? Why not keep going if you can keep playing and you still have any semblance of love for the game, which he sounds like he clearly has. So yeah, signing that 2-year deal kind of indicates where I think, honestly, his headspace is at currently. He probably thinks he can not only get his body right to react and play and contribute at a high level, but the fact he can do it for at least a couple multiple years because he's got right the desire to do it as well.
Ali Cassell is our guest. We're talking NBA offseason storylines here. You said you think it's the roster that's best fit to win now. Where do the Sixers rank now in terms of title contenders in both the Eastern Conference and in the NBA as a whole, in your opinion?
I think you still clearly have to start with the Knicks in the East, at least, because they won the last championship. That group is coming back outside of Mitchell Robinson. And you kind of remember how they steamrolled right through the competition. So, again, when you've got Jalen Brunson and if Karl Anthony Towns is willing to do whatever it takes along with the rest of that group, yeah, they're probably still the favorites. On the West, obviously it's not hard to figure out OKC, San Antonio, after what we saw them do the last several years, but especially last year, say for San Antonio, that they're clearly going to be in the running when Shai Gilgeous is up and available. Same thing with Victor Wembanyama. So those three teams, I think you clearly still put ahead of somebody like the Philadelphia 76ers. But after that, you know, I think they're probably as good as an argument can be made for them being the fourth most likely team to win the next championship as any other team, right? Boston clearly took a step back in my mind. We don't know how Indiana's going to react. Detroit, they haven't really improved, and they still haven't re-signed Jalen Duren. Cleveland, they seem to falter in the playoffs. And in the West, you know, Joker is still arguably the best player in the NBA. But again, you're not too enthralled by his teammates, right? Aaron Gordon broke down last year. That team's really up against the Caps, the second apron, so they can't really make improvements to that roster. So it's hard to find a legitimate another team that you could clearly say is better on paper than the 76ers. So, yeah, LeBron did go clearly to the best situation, right? He's not in the West having to go through OKC, San Antonio. Just the Knicks, right? You get past the Knicks, you got to think they can get to the finals if they're largely healthy.
What do you make of the teams that missed out? Most notably, of course, the ones that we were speculating on, the Cavaliers and the Warriors. We saw Golden State still got the Draymond deal done. But those two teams, you imagine this has got to be pretty significant, where it almost seemed like the way they had structured their off seasons, they were kind of counting on the addition of a LeBron to help kind of tie things together.
I do. I think Miami and the Warriors probably have missed out the most, but especially Golden State. Look, that team, you still have Steph Curry, you still have Draymond Green, but other than that, you wonder what they are. Jimmy Butler had that serious injury, and he's not going to be ready to go at the start of this year. So they needed to bring at least one key component, maybe probably two. And that sounds like that's what LeBron James wanted. It sounds like had they been able to land Anthony Davis or some other big-time player, that LeBron was likely probably going to go with the Golden State Warriors. But the fact they didn't, well, LeBron probably thought that was too much on his shoulders, he and Steph's shoulders, in a team, like I said, in a conference like the West that's so tough that he couldn't go there. So they're the clear losers, because now you wonder, and we've seen they haven't made really any significant moves. I'm wondering if they're eschewing for, say, the top 8. I think that team that's comprised is going to struggle just to get in the play-in tournament. So they're clearly the biggest losers. As for Cleveland, yes, I heard that, of course, LeBron, right? He probably wanted to go there above any other team if it's just on paper, right? What a way to end your script. Hometown kid. I'm going to go back for one last hurrah, maybe win one more championship. But you look at that roster, again, they didn't make any major moves. And when you saw what Philly did, I don't think it was that hard of a decision for him. But in the moment, there was clearly in the running. But, again, it sounded like he wasn't enthralled by that backcourt, right? Spida Mitchell, James Harden. Who's going to play defense on that team? Because LeBron clearly is going to want to do that. And then they have those two bigs. That roster, combined with, like I said, not being a championship-winning team and not really making moves this summer, kind of eliminated Cleveland.
We shall finish our conversation with the New Orleans Pelicans, Ollie. They are not to be forgotten here. Let's start with the Summer League stuff. There's never a huge amount to gather from it. We know that a majority of these players are not going to be on the opening day roster or play significant minutes. But sometimes there are some players who make their way from the Summer League team. And we know this year, of course, the expected year 2 stars for this Pels team didn't play either. But did you take anything away from getting a chance to watch them? And, hey, the Pels actually won a few Summer League games, which is a nice change of pace as well.
It was. They were more competitive. I think that's the thing that stood out to me, right, from start to finish, whether they were down 20, up in a game. But what you noticed was they clearly played with more pace. They shot the 3 ball a lot more frequently than they had in previous summer leagues. And it's always a different roster, right? But you could see that this new coaching staff has had its influence, right? So combined with playing faster, creating more turnovers, shooting more threes, what you like from an individual standpoint is, for instance, Micah Peavy. He's going his second year. Biggest question mark with him is his offense. I thought he shot the ball well, looked for his offense well in those several games he played in Vegas. Past him, I really like Kobe Buffkin. It looks like he's going to have a chance to earn himself a contract, whether it's a two-way or regular season deal, because of how well he shot the ball, right? He came out that same draft class as Jordan Hawkins. I think it was the pick right after the Pelicans taking Hawkins. But his career hasn't panned out in the NBA. But, boy, based on summer league play, this kid can shoot the ball and can play. So I'll be curious to see if he can take a step forward from the summer league and maybe play well in preseason, like I said, get a contract. And then past him, really, there weren't too many other players you want to key on, right? Basically, maybe Jerome Pierre, right? The Pelicans' 58th pick from the last draft. He's got a two-way deal already. You're just wondering if he could maybe someday become a rotation player, because from what I saw in summer league, honestly, Dawson, he played very timid. He's a guy in college that he was their best scorer on the teams he played in last several years, but you couldn't tell watching him in Las Vegas. He was very kind of, just meek, ready to stay in the corner. But you saw the athleticism. So you wonder if he could become, say, a 3-and-D guy, like a Danny Green, that San Antonio unearthed, somebody along those lines, because he can clearly shoot the ball, love the jump jump shot, and, of course, his athleticism. So other than those three guys, no, nobody else really stood out.
We know that the offseason's been mostly quiet. We've been maybe surprised about that at some points. This segment right here, Ollie, especially now that the LeBron news has happened, and I just I went through the NBA headlines list on ESPN, and it's a whole lot of there's a thing on there on the top list of headlines about Mario Hezonja. So clearly they're looking for some things to talk about. If the Pelicans are going to make any moves, do you think it's going to be close to when they get back for camp, like preseason stuff, or are you thinking this roster is actually going to be the one they go into the season with?
I still think there's moves to be made. I'm going to keep sticking those guns. It's not going to be anything major, it sounds like, anymore, right? Especially a deal involving Trey Murphy or Herb Jones. But I'm still watching several restricted free agents around the league. First one you got to watch is Jalen Duren, right? Troy Weaver's, when he was in Detroit, he drafted him, loves him. And it sounds like Trajan Langdon's playing hardball with Jalen Duren and giving him his second contract. So you wonder if that continues, will kind of Detroit be forced to move him because they don't want to pay him such a high price, meet him for that high price, and move him a lot like Utah did, right? Walker Kessler getting traded to the Lakers. Could the Pelicans get in on that? If not, Benedict Mathurin, he's a player that was of interest to New Orleans at the last trade deadline. Again, he's somebody that Troy Weaver's liked in the past. And from what I'm hearing, they still like him. So I'm wondering if they could conceivably sign him because the Clippers probably don't want to pay him the sum of money that he's looking for. Pelicans could pay him the full mid-level, especially if they clear Jordan Hawkins. I think that's why we heard some Jordan Hawkins talk, maybe going to Memphis about a week ago, because they're trying to create the space to maybe bring in a Benedict Mathurin. But either way, if those guys don't pan out, you still think they're going to add a center. I'm still looking at Miles Turner. He needs a home up in Milwaukee. I still wonder if Orlando could be in play, right? Jamal Mosley's old team, Wendell Carter Jr. Cleveland's got to be off the board now that they didn't get LeBron, right? They have no reason to move off of Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, it doesn't seem like. But like I said, Miles Turner's still there. I think Wendell Carter might be available. They've got a lot of centers in Orlando. So I still think the Pelicans will make maybe a deal, maybe two, before training camp opens. Just not sure when that'll happen. But it sounds like if it was to be Mathurin, for instance, that's more likely to happen sooner rather than later. But Duren, that could drag on up until maybe media day.
I'm looking at the standings from last year, Ollie. I see a team that was kind of, at the top of the bottom of the barrel of the West, right? That group of teams that weren't in contention. There was an 11-game gap between them and the 10th place team, the Warriors, that got the last play-in spot.
Mm-hmm.
If this team does, as you mentioned, remain largely the same with a minor move here or there that's not going to shake up the foundation of the roster, what's the ceiling of this team as it currently sits? Because I've got real doubts. Like, what have they done to become significantly better other than hoping a handful of players take massive leaps in their development?
That's just it. That's what you would be counting on. And I was thinking about what team could they compare to if things worked out favorably. And you know what jumps to mind is Damian Lillard's Portland Trail Blazers team when he went from his rookie year to his second year. Rookie season, that team went, I believe, 33-49. But that team had LaMarcus Aldridge there, Nicholas Batum, several others like Wesley Matthews, right? They had their core starting lineup there because the next year, Dawson, they won 52 games, and all they really did over the summer was add a few vets to come off the bench, but also got themselves a starting center in Robin Lopez. And like I said, they made that drastic jump by winning 19 more games. So you look at this roster, right? Everybody talks about how individually you like a lot of pieces. Trey Murphy, DeJounte Murray, Herb Jones, right? Zion Williamson, if he gets it figured out, right? We got the durability kind of figured out, but can he be effective again? So if things like that all come together, you could see something similar happening to this team like it did with the Blazers. But otherwise, if they play kind of disjointed, don't really have an offense, are bad at end-of-game situations, rookies don't take a step forward, and Mosley can't coax, say, a top 10, top 12 defense, then yes, we're likely looking at a kind of a subpar season, right, where you're going to finish worse than 500.
It is. I like the comp. I like the optimism there, Ollie. But yeah, no doubt there's going to be a lot of skepticism, and I think it's warranted. We will we'll have to see if the Pels are able to prove some of that stuff wrong when we get back to basketball. All right, Ollie. Glad to check in with you, man. Enjoy the rest of the off season, the quiet time, and we'll see. Pels are going to be getting this thing rolling in a couple months, and we'll get back with you in no time, I'm sure.
Great. Thanks, Dawson. Yeah, let's just hope they make a few changes because this team really does need it. Even Joe Dumars kind of alluded to it right at the end of last season.
I am with you. Certainly some change would be a welcome sight. All right, we'll do this. We'll take a break. We are nearing the end here, but we will have a few minutes on the other side. So we'll tie up some loose ends. We'll give you an update to the poll question of the day, and we'll send you on your way. This is the LohDown, ESPN Southwest Louisiana Sports Station.
This is the LohDown with D-Lo, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Want to take ESPN Southwest Louisiana with you wherever you go? Download the free ESPN Southwest Louisiana mobile app powered by Moss Motors today. It is your one-stop shop for all things ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. You can download it for free by searching ESPN 103.7 Lafayette. That way, no matter where you are, you can listen to Southwest Louisiana Sports Station.
ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is the proud winner of 4 2026 LAB Prestige Awards, including Best Use of Digital Media, Foot's Friday Fury, Best Live On-Site Remote for our Super Bowl Radio Row coverage, Best Promotion for our No Shave November initiative, and Radio Young Professional of the Year for Dawson Iserloh. We're proud of being Southwest Louisiana's sports station and are humbled to be recognized by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters.
When strength matters, go to apfabllp.com. Precision built to last, from heavy-duty aluminum structural welding using TIG, MIG, and stick to custom metal fabrication designed exactly for your project. Need safety inspections, weld analysis, or 24-hour metal repairs? Trust A&P to get the job done. For quality craftsmanship and dependable service, visit apfabllp.com. That's apfabllp.com. A&P Fabrication and Construction. Built strong, built right.
August 15th is the date for the 12th annual Fête du Teche boat procession down the Bayou Teche. The day begins with Mass en Francais with Bishop Desitel at 8 a.m. at St. Leo's Church in Leonville. The boats then depart for a Eucharistic boat procession ending in St. Martinville. Register your boat today or find out more information at fêtedudeteche.org or by liking their Facebook page. Don't miss the 12th annual Fête du Teche, Saturday, August 15th.
Looking for a spotless workplace? Variety Janitorial Services is your go-to. For office cleaning to stripping and floor waxing and carpet cleaning, your commercial space will look its best. Their reputation for perfection has grown throughout the entire Acadiana community. They deliver top-notch service with a commitment to excellence. Daily, weekly, or deep cleaning, trust the experts. Visit varietyjan.com today or call 337-298-8704 for a free quote. Variety Janitorial Services. We clean, you shine.
Attention first responders, police officers, firefighters, military and former military personnel. If you have an acre or more of grass to cut, Skag Zero-Turn Mowers would like to thank you by offering you a special discount with their Simply the Brave First Responders program. Save big money on the industry's top-rated zero-turn mower at Nolan's Lawnmower in Carencro. Nolan's can offer well-qualified buyers 0% financing for 48 months. Come by Nolan's Lawnmower at 3547 Northwest Evangeline Thruway and check out the full line of Skag Zero-Turn Lawnmowers.
Curious about that old coin collection in your drawer? Then don't miss the Lafayette Coin Show, coming to the Cajun Dome September 11th to 12th. The Lafayette Coin Show bringing collectors, dealers, and enthusiasts from across the region to buy, sell, and trade rare coins, paper money, and more. Free appraisals, unique finds, connect with knowledgeable coin experts. The Lafayette Coin Show September 11th to 12th at the Cajun Dome. Explore history, value, and treasure, all under one roof. Don't miss it.
This is ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, broadcasting live from the Beal and Hebert studios in Upper Lafayette. Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. Back to more of Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
It is the LohDown as we wind down on this Wednesday edition. We were talking a good bit of Saints in the first hour. We switched gears and hit on some other topics in hour number 2. Of course, the bad news of the day and the biggest news of the day, perhaps Brian Brzee with a training camp injury. Day 1 of training camp for the New Orleans Saints goes down. It is expected to be confirmed that it's a torn ACL, which would, of course, effectively end his season before it ever even got started. We also had a poll question of the day, which was before we knew of that injury, asking which defensive position group you are most excited to watch during training camp. 33% of you going with the defensive backs, but that's what I went with. 50% of you said the linebackers, 8% voting for the D-line, 8% voting for all of the above. The D-line is the one that I'd say has gotten a lot more interesting since we unveiled this question, given the injury to Brzee and the situation the Saints might now be in. Now, you do have Devon Godchow, as we talked about. You do have Vernon Broughton in a second year. You're hoping to get him back healthy and in the fold after he had to miss basically all of last season, played in the one game. You do have a rookie in Christian Miller that you invested in. You have a rookie in Xavier Harris who people are excited about if he can get on the field and get his act fully together, things of that nature. But Brzee was expected to be, and Ian Rappaport used the term, and I think it's pretty accurate, the linchpin of this defensive line, right? Just a reliable, going to play a ton of snaps. Is he a superstar in this league? Maybe not, but he doesn't have to be. And now you're going to be likely without that. Hopefully somehow this is a misdiagnosis and we come back and they say, it's just a sprain. He'll be back in a few weeks. That'd be awesome, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Typically, when you come out that strongly, you're not necessarily going to get things like that wrong too often. In the world of Major League Baseball, by the way, we've seen, a couple big storylines. We're waiting to find out if Tarek Skubal's going to get traded or not. We did have a bunch of daytime baseball. Unfortunately, RP3's Braves dropped one to the Mets today, 3-2, so they're going to have to try and bounce back there. Remember when I said, hey, the Tigers are going to win. Tarek Skubal pitched today. He was good. It was maybe like his last appearance in Detroit. He kind of got a little send-off from the fans and gave a tip to the crowd. Well, they were up 7-1, and then they weren't up 7-1. They actually gave up 5 runs in the 7th and 2 in the 8th. Actually, it wasn't 7-1. It was 7-0 at one point. Then they gave up 5 runs in the 7th and 2 in the 8th. So Tarek Skubal ended up getting tagged for 3 total, by the way. When I gave you his pitching line at the time, he was not fully off the hook yet. He had a couple base runners. So he ends up giving up 3 of those runs. But the Tigers bullpen implodes a little bit. That's now a 7-7 ball game in the top of the 10th inning. So the Baltimore Orioles fighting back there and trying to find a way to win one. Brewers and Giants, Rockies and Padres are about to get set to go. The Braves and the Mets will have another matchup later on. Chris Sale gets the ball for the Braves. He's had an outstanding season against Christian Scott, who's actually quietly been really good for the Mets as well. And then, of course, the Astros do play tonight. They will face the Angels in the finale of a 3-game set. Tonight's Astros game is very notable for one particular reason. That is Hayden Wesneski is going to be making his season debut. Wesneski was involved in the Kyle Tucker trade. The Astros acquired him last season. On March the 30th, he was put on the injured list with elbow surgery. Actually, make that March the 25th. He was put on the injured list, had to have elbow surgery, missed the entirety of the rest of that season after making 6 starts. So he is back now and potentially going to, well, I shouldn't say potentially, he is slated to pitch tonight for the first time in a big league game since the first month of last season. He faces, by the way, Grayson Rodriguez, who has 9 starts this year and 8.54 ERA. It has been a rough year for the 26-year-old, who at one point in his big league career with the Orioles when he broke in, had a really good 2024, and there were some thoughts that it was going to be a real thing for him. He's battled some injuries, and he's had a really, really rough season. So he will be pitching opposite the Astros and Hayden Wesneski tonight. That's an 8:38 first pitch. It is #AstrosAfterDark, and if you'd like to, you can listen to that game right here on our airwaves. I do believe we're back up on 104.1 as well. If you're listening to us from Lake Charles, we appreciate you for sticking around. We've gotten some technical issues figured out there with some equipment, so glad to have you back as well. For now, we send it over to AFR. Matt Moscona is up next. You're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette, 104.1 Lake Charles.
The best businesses aren't just businesses, they're neighbors. Here's a message from a proud certified South Louisiana business.